I'd like us to open this morning. We're going to open with a karakia. We're going to say together our tau aki aroto. Would you be able to lead us, Marty? Thank you.
Tēnei au, tēnei mautata, e kai karangira, e kāwenga, i ngā whakatanga, ki ngā tikanga, ki uta, ki tai, ki rewa ai ngā iwi katoa o te taitoga. Huie, huie, tai ki.
Okay.
Tēnā kātou katoa, tēnā koe te hea mana e tohu nei a haukia tū te mihi, no reira e tikana te mihi te kai karakia. E tautoko ana hai i ngā kupu whakamiha, pa tau ki mai a kātou tēnā koe te hea mana, nā kai kaunihera, ka mihi moki a hau te whakamine ngā tahaere mai nei, te whakarongo ki ngā kōrero me ngā whakataunga, ka whakatau hia e te kaunihera i tēnei rā. Ka whakaaro hoki kia rātou kua whetūrangi kia rātou te hunga wairua kia rātou, kātou te hunga ora kia tātou tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā kātou.
I think it's appropriate to open with that, Mihi. Thank you very much. And I'll also ask you to close us at the end of the hui as well.
Sure.
All right, so we're coming into the apologies. We're having apologies for today.
Councillor Crawford, Chair. Second.
Joe and Marty. All in favour?
Aye.
Declarations of conflicts of interest. Do we also register? We write it down.
We will do,
Yeah.
but general practice has been that we call for any conflicts as matters arise.
Yeah, okay. So if there's none to declare now, then item by item we declare at that time as well. Okay. All right, moving on. Council minutes and action sheet. Can I first have a mover for accepting? Thank you, Rick.
Happy to second again.
Thank you, Marty. Just give you a moment if there's anything you'd like to raise or discuss. Yeah. Okay. So we have Rick and Marty that these minutes are true and correct record. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, carried.
We don't actually have an action sheet this month. We're starting with a fresh slate for the tree.
So makes sense. Just checking we've got no action. Yeah. Okay, and over to item 6, page 11, financial report. I'd like to move that, Joe. Thank you. Then Lucas, total 4. Jono, who is going to present on the?
Kia ora, Chair. I think Bruce is there, and Financial Manager Simon McGinnis.
Kia ora, and good morning, Council. This financial report represents where we are 4 months into the financial year, and I think it's showing a good result for this stage of the year. I mean, our revenue is slightly behind. There's a $49,000 variance against total revenue of $26 million year to date. And expenditure is slightly ahead, $263,000 favorable variance, unfavorable variance. I think you would have seen the email from the Chief Executive this morning about the additional gains to managed funds. So we're catching up and we're not far behind on budgeted managed fund returns year to date, which is pleasing given the volatility that we're seeing in the markets. And I think if you look at the two tables in there, the revenue variance, you'll see that it's only shown a 0.2% variance year to date. So that's very good, tracking to where we should be. And likewise with expenditure, it's showing a 1.2% variance year to date. So it's very close to where we should be. And you'll notice also that the biggest variance we're seeing is across the salaries, and that's due to the overall turnover rates, which are quite high, which is something we're seeing nationally, globally. And you'll notice that the salary variance there is $652,000. And the other thing I'd point out is that we're slightly behind, or we are behind in our capital expenditure programs for Riverworks. And you'll see the note towards the end of the report there, the delays in the Awanui flood protection program, and also Aotearoa Mauriwa. But those things aside, I think we're in a very good position here today financially. And we're happy to take questions. The team's here as well.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments?
Just before we normally just a new training, just I'd like to ask Stuart if he's got any comments, and as our independent. So Stuart, is that all right? Through
Through the chair. Thanks, Rick, and thanks, Bruce. I'd say I was very pleasantly surprised to see the lack of volatility on revenue, especially through the funds. Just to give you a flavour, since the 30th of June, we've seen every market that mainly influences the external fund. We've seen a range volatility of between 20 and 30%. That means it's ranged that much in terms of going up and down. I'm talking oil, I'm talking global equities, interest rates through bonds, and I think that to see such a lack of variance in our results, that is probably, it shows the nature of the fund has been very, very well diversified. And I know that later on, when if you read the Ericsson report, you will note that there are some segments of those investments that are, that are challenging with the market, but there are also others that have done rather well in the circumstances. So that, I think, is comforting when I saw these results that came through from Bruce and the team. And I only had one question, Bruce, which was the nature of some of the expenditure that has been more of a delay or timing difference, or has there been some permanent savings in some of those expenditure?
Through the chair, thanks. Just a question, Stuart. I think the permanent savings are in salary savings.
Yes.
So that's the key thing at the moment. Everything else is phased out according to the work schedule.
To the work schedule, yeah. Which is really, really good. I mean, those are really good results.
Great, thank you.
Just one final comment. So normally we would ask, as chair, and I'm not appointed chair at the moment, so we had a sort of, in I guess this area where we had no chair of finance and property, so investment and property. So I just want to thank the team on our behalf for looking after us for the last month through the election process. So thank you, you've done a great job, and thanks for independence as well. So we'll get out the allegation sorted today. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Great result to come back to.
We can all agree to that. Jono.
Kia ora, Chair, if I could just acknowledge the capital expenditure delays. They're both referenced there. They're both associated with our flood schemes. The Awanui project that you see there, we've got an item on the confidential part of the agenda to discuss how an option for progressing those delays. The Aotearoa Mauriwa flood mitigation spillways, we've sought and been granted an extension by MD to the funding that we've got there. The delays there were to allow for us to partner with Hapu to go through the Māori Land Court process to deliver a better outcome for the community and how that flood scheme was going to work. The Māori Land Court has approved the proposal, but we're now just waiting for the appeals process to finish before we commence with works. Like I said, MB has supported our request for an extension of the timeframe to allow for that process to go through.
And from what I understand, the turning the soil ceremony is being worked through in that area with the local whānau hapu as well. So we will, you know, keep abreast of that date for attendance as well. Total. She's Marty.
Thanks, John, for that. Does this 719,000 include that 1.5 mil for the extra that we're going to have to pay for the bridge?
No, so the outstanding amount is still a conversation we need to have with council as to how we fill that funding gap.
Any other comments? Or? Okay, so returning to the recommendation that the financial report be received. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried. Next, we have update to financial delegations. Can we take these recommendations all together?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm happy to move those.
Rick's moving.
Before.
Jack, all together. Yes, thank you. Jack, seconding. Who's going to present on this? Tomorrow?
Simon or Bruce will be here to speak to the paper if there are any questions.
Yes, 21. It's a pretty administrative agenda item. What I'm trying to achieve is to get 4 signatories in my finance team. We always need 2. If we're at a conference, annual leave, sick, good to have 4. And then I'm trying to get 2 GMs as backup as well. So that's what we try and keep. It's just because it's an authorised signatory, I need council approval on that.
Thank you. Anything to discuss there? It's all fairly straightforward. Yeah, all right. So let's these recommendations 1 to 4. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Next one, confirmation of governance structure, membership and portfolios. All right, we've got Jack and Amy moving the 3 recommendations. We're going to take these all together.
Seven
Oh, sorry.
recommendations.
There's actually 13.
7. Oh,
Oh,
right.
that's-
So 13.
Can we add another one to it?
Welcome to do it all together if there's particular.
Want to have that all together? We've got, yeah. Thankful for the time that we've all spent together as a council from our 2-day retreat after being sworn in at Kororarika. Happy that everyone feels like they're sitting in the positions that you can all add value to, and we have all hands on deck for the work coming up this triennium. Are there any comments or discussions before we bring that one? Okay. So all of the 13 recommendations, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Change it to 12A. Very good. Very good. Well,
Congratulations.
look at 13 is right.
Annual report on biosecurity operational plan. 61.
With your permission, Chair, I believe our GM Biosecurity would like to present a few slides in support of this paper.
Yes, Don, please do.
Very proud to present this annual report on behalf of the team today. And what we're asking for on that agenda item is for adoption of the report. I've just got a couple of slides just to present the context of this report so we may all understand where it has come from. So can we just have that? This is a little bit about what biosecurity is meant to be for us. And our council have supported the work of biosecurity. This is a common theme right across Aotearoa in regional councils. We just have that next slide. So what are we protecting? Our culture, our health and lifestyle, our plants, animals, environment, our tourism, our trade economy. There are some things we don't get involved with. And that's our next slide. So away from the border, we have this, this agency called Ministry for Primary Industries. one of the largest ministries we have. They're divided up. They're a seriously big animal. So you have things like food safety in there. You have things like trade and economy. One of those work streams is called Biosecurity New Zealand. And that's what we get involved with. So that arm of Biosecurity New Zealand, we work quite closely with MPI. And indeed, they fund this region substantially with external funding. But they are responsible for pests and diseases outside of New Zealand, particularly things like foot and mouth, things that might be better worked on away before they get here. In saying that, we have strong relationships with them on the ground within Taitogera, with Cody Protection would be one example. At the border, you'll find MPI. When you walk through that customs gate at the airport, you will see the Department of Conservation, MPI, and perhaps police. We are not there. We come in at this lovely blue and leaf area down the bottom, where we're working on pests that are already established in this region. And that's what this report is about. It's about a report on the services that Council provides to our ratepayers, the funding that we leverage from other agencies, particularly Crown agencies, and we've leveraged something like $4 million. And the team works very closely with other Crown agencies to do that, and our Te Tiriti partners to help leverage funding and work on projects in this region. So I just wanted to give you that context of where this report lies. Our team is with my team managers are with us today, and it's a very proud moment for myself because this report has been built through the efforts of that team, in particular Catherine Lister, who's done the heavy lifting in data management, but also others across the organisation in comms. There's been Millie Kenyon there, but right across the organisation, we have a close relationship with our Māori relationships team and other parts of the organisation that really enable these activities to get underway. So very, very proud of what the team has produced. You're looking at some of the finest kind of intellect and biosecurity across that room, I might add. I've been around a little while, so I can make that judgment. But no, really are very, very proud of what they've achieved. So we're here to take any questions, and Chair. And yes, thank you for that.
Okay, I think we haven't yet moved the recommendations, but we can take all three together. If there's Amy's willing to move, Jack's seconding. We're not only receiving, but we're also adopting the report and delegating Don to make small amendments, perhaps grammatically wise, yeah, in summary. Three motions today. I'd also like to, while the others are considering if they have any thoughts or comments, I'd like to reiterate the pride that you have in the staff. We thank the staff very much for all the hard work and biosecurity. It's a tricky space, but I too feel like we're leading it out, in many ways, and I look forward to the next, two together working on that. Any further comments, Jack?
Yeah, thank you. Just as the chair of the working party, I'd like to echo Tui's comments. I think that the report is something to be proud of. Look, there's a couple of wonderful features in here. I think our marine response has been pretty spectacular. It's really the best in the country, I would say. And I take a close interest in what other regions are doing. And I think our relationship with MPI is improving so much, and it's as demonstrated by the amount of funding they give us to actually undertake our national initiatives on their behalf. So that shows the trust they have in us, which I think is great. The only little comment I will make is that, and it's not a criticism, it's just a comment, is that I will be expecting us to put more weight and more pressure on the road controlling authorities to come up with their plans that they've been talking about for quite some time and haven't done any work on whatsoever. That's not only the 3 district councils, but it's also Kirala and Waka Kotahi. So I promise you that I'll be seeking the council's backing for any efforts you can provide in that regard, Don, to put the pressure on those other authorities, including us having discussions with their upper management, because obviously those organisations are all dragging the chain. Thank you.
Jack, yes, I think we'll keep in mind those of us that are on those relevant committees, the cross-cutting issues that we have to work together and manage together. So thank you. So in saying that, are we all in favour for the 3 recommendations?
Yep.
Aye.
Any against? Harry, thank you very much, Don.
With acclamation.
All right, moving on to our next agenda item, regional rates collection, page 147. Who's going to be speaking on this, John? Oh, yeah. That's our annual report's nice and chunky. Oh, Bruce.
Bruce is already still now.
Thank you.
I can speak to the report.
Yes, please.
This is the rates, as you know, the district councils collect their rates on our behalf. And this is the first quarter, the first 3 months of the year rate collection report. And I think I've just kind of, in terms of a traffic light, I'd say it's a bit of an amber, because the key thing I'll draw your attention to is this year so far, the district councils collected a total of 31% of the rate struck. And at the same time last year, they collected 32%. And also, if you look at the rates arrears collection as a percentage basis, you'll see that this year it's 8.2% against last year at the same time 10.2%. So it's still just the first quarter, but it's consistent across all of the district. We're seeing a slightly lower collection rate year to date. So that's what I'm saying. A bit of an amber light, not red yet. But let's wait and see what the next report brings us in 3 months' time. And there's comments also in the report from the district councils as to where they're at and why they're at. So we practically contact them to try and find out what's happening for them. And that's my summary. Thanks, Chair.
So can I just get the motion on the floor that we received the report? I have a Joe, you'll move it. Can I, Amy second? Yes, would you like to start the discussions, Joe?
Yes, Bruce, a comment, not a question. On the box on page 147, the bottom corner, right-hand corner of the box shows the difference between 22, 23 and previous year 21, 22. And that's actually a 16.216% increase in rate arrears, which is what you're alluding to. And it's reflecting, I think, this sort of foreboding reflection on the economic climate our community is experiencing at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. Any other comments or questions from councillors?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think better understanding these numbers and what they reflect by having some consideration of insights around the different demographics that are affected by these, these climbing costs that our community are being subjected to through the economic environment that we're all experiencing. But what is the impact on our social and cultural components of our community? And just that we think about that when we look at these figures as well.
Sure. I think there's always the option too that as councillors, being that rating is such a critical issue that we could always workshop as well if we wanted to dive deep on, you know, how we're doing, what we're doing well, you know, maybe, you know, really if we want a deeper understanding, that could also be an option as well. Any other comments or questions, John?
When you look at our economy in Northland over the last 2 years with COVID, it's been the pasture farming and forestry that's carried Northland very, very well, but we've seen a land use change dramatically happening as we speak. And I think with the amount of forestry coming into Northland, we're going to see our towns and cities not have that money that goes around in circles from our current economy, and that may affect our towns dramatically in Northern, as it did in about 1981 when forestry was sort of took heart in the Kaikoura far north area. So I think in affordable rates in the future, forestry land will get devalued, which means the other land will have to cover more of the rates, unfortunately, and houses, of course, in one way. So we need to be concerned about the future of our economy in Northern.
Yeah, it sounds like that workshop may just happen after all, because yeah, spatially planning, things like that, and trying to predict what is to come is important. So, thank you, Bruce. Are we all ready to support this recommendation? All in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. All right, next item. This is our submission on the National Direction for Plantation and Exotic Carbon Afforestation, page 151. We have two recommendations here: to receive the report and that we retrospectively approve. Amy,
Have we missed mine?
have we?
No.
Is this something?
No, someone, sorry. Yeah, August.
Kia ora, Chair. I think Councillor Carr, that's an attachment to the previous one. It's the FNDC agenda paper that you might have seen.
Okay.
That's what looks like it's another paper.
Thank
All
you.
right, you're on the right spot with us, John, page 151.
Yep. thank you.
Okay. So just back to that, the two recommendations: to receive and retrospectively approve. Amy as a mover, do we have a seconder?
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you. Ms. Ruben, would you like? Do we need to discuss this? I mean, I'm mindful that we went through we gave comments on the submission and we went out, and we're quite aware of how this has gone. Do we need a discussion on it?
Happy not to.
All right, is there? Let's just all in favour with the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, carried, thank you.
I'd like to thank Ruben for the considerable effort in a very short period of time. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my team for doing that too.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll be working closely on many things, I'm sure, in the future. And the next one here is the council submissions on the draft Kaipara district plan and final district plan, page 162. Again, we went through this process in the early stages of our being sworn in. And again, we have reports to be received and retrospectively approved. So I have Amy, a seconder, please. John, sorry, John's just.
Somebody from the farm horse would be good, so we can go me.
Yeah. Right. So we have, as I said, we have gone through some of this. How's the council feeling? Would you like to have it? Amy, you're fine. Joe, you've got something to say?
Yeah, very briefly, I know we've sent it, but on page 167.8.5, we suggest that Kaikoura District Council should consider alternatives such as desalination plants in coastal locations. Well, I really wonder if that is viable, and maybe when they're presenting the submission, they could cover that one off, because it seems rather an extraordinary option. And on the following page 168, we're talking about low impact stormwater designs for new developments and use of swales. I think we should qualify that where there's no risk of land destabilisation. Just be an add to that suggested policy. Yeah, I think staff have done a good job. Thank you.
Okay, so we've heard a few comments, a bit of feedback on several items in the submission. Do we have any others? just these ones that Joe was raising. Joe, was that advice that you're giving in terms of moving forward through the plan changes?
No, I anticipate our staff will be presenting these submissions.
Yes.
And when they go there, I think they should just add those little caveats to the submission. If they agree, I'm not driving it as a burning issue.
Thank you, Joe. What's the suggestion here, John?
Sure, Chair.
Yeah.
Just looking at Ruben, given this is the draft Kaipara district plan, I assume there's not a hearing process for us to then speak to the submission. This is a submission that they're then taken. Could I suggest, Madam Chair, that that's feedback that staff take on board for? There will be a lot more engagement with KDC as the thing, like it's only the draft at the moment, and that we build that into our next round of advice.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Thank you, CEO. But that point I made about instability through swales applies equally to the FNDC submission to the proposed plan, their proposed plan. So that's pretty relevant for that one. Thank you.
So as we understand the planning process, yeah, we don't have that there's still some time yet to go through the planning process, and so we can continue to keep in touch with our staff on what has been submitted through that. Jack?
I'd just like to touch over what Joe has said regarding the KDC submission. I think in our discussions, I'd like to see staff actually promote self-storage rather than piping in water from Whangarei and other measures like that when it comes to providing water for new developments in places like Mangawhai, where it just seems to be running against all common sense for Kaipara to allow just a normal very, very large subdivision and then without any water provision or sewage. It just seems to be, it's ignoring climate change impacts and also ignoring the future needs of the Whangarei district. So on-site provision of water is the future, and we need to be encouraging it at every turn.
Kia ora, Jack. Again, I think, yeah, these will be things that come up in our natural resources working party, and yeah, water keeps coming up as a regular issue too, so we may want to workshop that ourselves as well. Okay. Are we ready to go ahead with these two recommendations for the report to be received and retrospectively approved? All in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Next item is the health and safety report. 181. Can I get a mover to receive the report, please? Sure. Peter, Lucas and Marty. Thank you.
Kia ora, Chair. Given it's the first report, if you would like, I see Bruce and Beryl are here. If you'd like us to speak to it, normally we take it as read and answer any questions. But whether we speak to this, given it's the first item, on the agenda, we'll have to do so.
What would you like? You're voting for?
Yep, I'd be happy for a bit of input. I'm happy for a bit of input as it is first up.
Okay. Let's, if that's okay, we have a Beryl or one of you come up.
We are having a bit of challenges with HR, aren't we?
Yeah, I must apologise. I was not prepared to speak to this, but I'm going to do my best. Right. We thankfully have probably about a month ago we had a health and safety advisor. It did actually take us quite some months to find the right health and safety advisor, because of course you have to actually find the right personality along with the right knowledge and skills and everything. So we now have a very capable person. But during that time, of course, we just did the basics just to keep ourselves going. So she has quite a bit of work ahead of her over the next few months. But I must also thank the Health and Safety Committee. They've been very supportive throughout this process. So as you will have noticed from the report, unfortunately, we didn't achieve as much as we would ideally have liked. I will also highlight the health and safety inductions because that has come up previously. When the Health and Safety Committee put together their objectives or their strategy, they actually wanted the inductions completed in 2 days. However, they didn't actually take into account that a number of those aspects would actually take longer than 2 days. So that objective was not actually achievable. That's why it looks so terrible in the report. But we are changing things so that there are definitely things that can be completed in the first 2 days, and therefore that statistic will look a lot better, and it should actually be at 100%. That's our aim. Right, what else is there? We have been starting to put a lot of time and effort into our health and safety training just to make sure that people are skilled in what they need to be skilled in and signed off. There's also a lot more coming, as you'll see from the next report that's put forward. As far as risk management goes, working with contractors is obviously still a high risk because, of course, there's only so much we can actually limit our risk on because they are the ones actually out there doing the work. But we do make sure that we have all the paperwork, that they have everything in place before they actually start as a contractor with us. Pandemic is obviously still a high risk for us. We still have everything in place to mitigate our risk in that area. Workload and stress is still quite high, and partially that is due to not having a full complement of staff. But at the same time, most of our staff members have a lot on their plate, especially with what's coming out of central government and from all corners, really. Dealing with aggressive people, psychological harm. Since COVID, just for those of you who are new to council, that has actually picked up since COVID. Some of you yourselves may have actually come across aggressive people now that you're new councillors as well. So we have to do something about that to try and support you through that, as well as our staff. Those are the key areas. Also our driving, because we have a large fleet of vehicles, driving is quite a risk for us in going out there, so that we need to monitor that, and also the speeding of vehicles as well. The one thing that we do want to keep encouraging with our staff and also with our councillors is if there is an incident or an accident or a near miss, or you see a hazard, please do report it as well. I think that's pretty much.
Thank you so much, Beryl. It's really helpful, I think, for us to have that presented to us. Health and safety is so critical. Understanding the happiness and the safety of our staff, particularly as well. So thank you very much. Okay, Jack, yes.
One small comment. Thank you, Beryl. It's a good report. When you look at the raw data, it looks like we're having a few problems with speeding, but the qualifier is quite humorous about how we're actually reporting everything that's 10k over the limit rather than 20. So that kind of lets us off the hook a bit, and I'm just glad to say that I'm not very pleased that I'm not an employee because I'd be a statistic for sure. But thank you. I think that staff get used to the fact that they're going to be pinged every time they're 10k over the limit rather than 20, and then I expect that we'll get an improvement. So thank you.
Okay, Jack, any other comments? All right, let's revisit so we're at the recommendation for the report to be received. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Now we're up to the Chief Executive's report on 191.
I move.
Thank you, Joe. Second it, John. For the report to be received. John, did you want to?
Kia ora, Chair. No,
I guess first, this report represents the last 2 months worth of work for council. My comment, I guess, really is each council has their own preference as to what they want to know within the Chief Executive's report. This is our way of making sure we've got clear and transparent, ongoing and regular communications to our governance across the board. So very happy to receive feedback, maybe not necessarily here, but through a subsequent workshop as to what exactly would this term's council look for in the CE's report. It does fluctuate in length in different terms as to what exactly councillors are looking for, but very happy to receive feedback and make sure that the CE's report is delivering the information and updates that you're looking for. Whilst recognising that, yes, you've got your other wider governance structure and we've got decision-making reports, this is a really good avenue of making sure that you're informed and able to signal areas that you want us to provide more information on.
Okay, so I think that's a good reminder for us at this moment to think, okay, yeah, the level of information from the CE reports, and we can discuss that further after the meeting. Yes, any other comments or questions in regards to the report? Joe and then Rick.
Page 198 of the CEO's report, I've just like it recorded that I'm getting a lot of community inquiry regarding the Kohu, Openonia, Marpri and the Kaikoai sewage systems performance, and I've relayed that to council. It is of a concern, and I just wondered under Kaikoai whether there was a typo there. It says intermittent non-compliances. Should that actually read intermittent compliances? Maybe the staff could respond.
Jono, how could we respond to Jono?
Kia ora, Chair. As noted, there'll be a workshop with councillors on both the Kohu, Openonia and Omapuri consent processes. I note the comment regarding the Kaikoai one. I suspect it's not a typo, but kapai.
Thank you.
I've got one more question. Top of page 199, it says Okakura. Is that Oakura?
Okakura.
Yeah, which I've never heard of. Is that Oakura, is it? Thank you.
Rick,
I
sorry.
just wanted to know, John, if there's any, like it's almost a month since the last NEWA report, 24th of October, they started filling. So we're still on track for mid-December?
My understanding is that we're still on track. I'm looking at Bruce because I missed the meeting because I was at the LG reform meeting the other day. Bruce?
Yeah, so we had the project control steering group there yesterday and everything's looking good, on track. And the fish will be in the tanks. If not this sort of Christmas shortly thereafter. So it's all going well.
Good one. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, in terms of the paint box here, whilst it expires in 2029, just a comment for the record that it's important that we keep ourselves abreast of the iwi perspective on issues, and of course how important it is when we think about where kaimoana is gathered and the placement of these infrastructure, and so that we take that thinking into the way that we look into the future of these particular types of
Sure. Yes, because whilst they may have a lifetime of 25 or so years in the consenting processes, there's still conditions, available whereby the consents can be reviewed. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's time that we're going to have these workshops. All right. Any other comments or questions on the CE report? Yes. Sorry, Colin, I can't see over there. You're my blind spot.
Yeah, through the chair, just to make comment that the current consent is designed to allow time to investigate land disposal, which is ideally will address the concerns of iwi hapu, and they're in that process at the moment. So they're investigating land disposal as an alternative to the current discharge.
All right, thank you. Yeah, updates on each of our treatment plants.
So am I right in understanding then that we're looking at best practice at all times?
And to minority wise, we also have responsibilities now, particularly in that space. Okay. All right. Oh, well, let's get that motion to receive the report. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jono. Yes. I'm just going to double check I've got them up right. Next item. 8.3, reporting on the long-term plan, performance measures for Q1. Page 240. And if this is another report to be received, can I have someone to move it?
Sure.
Thank you, Peter Lucas. Second. Rick, thank you. Do we have a presentation on this?
Kia ora, Madam Chair, no presentation intended. I see Bruce though is standing.
Do you want to just give a quick summary?
Quick summary. So this report is an update on achievement with our 31 key performance indicators from the long-term plan. So we've just passed that first quarter, and we report in this report on 4 of those KPIs because they have quarterly measurements associated with them. The remainder, the balance of 31, we don't report on quarterly because they have reporting either halfway through the year or the end of the year. So we'll get the actual data. And you'll see in this report, it's one of those 4 that we report on. We haven't achieved our 100% target. That was in relation to Local Government Official Information Act requests, where 1 request wasn't completed within the statutory timeframe out of a total of 39 requests. And you'll see there's an attachment to the report that shows all the other performance measures and the targets and the reporting frequency associated with them. Thanks, Jim.
That's looking pretty good. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. It's good to measure and it's a good explanation. So, any discussions or questions? All right. Recommendation to receive the long-term plan report. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. The next item 9.0 on page 246. All right, so and we get everybody to the usual process. All right, should we take can we take all 3 together? Yes. All right, can somebody move? Rick, seconder, Amy, that the public be excluded. The independent financial advisors be permitted to stay. Yeah. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you.
Chair, that will finish the live stream, so I'm assuming not any finals.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And we hope to see you again soon.